Spoiler alert, I bought an Audi A8. It's not much of a spoiler, is it? Because it's in the title. So it turns out that almost half the viewers on the channel are based in the good old USA of America. So to make you guys feel at home and show you're very welcome here at Car Trouble, I've been learning some American from one of those online courses. I'll try and chuck some in every now and again. Thanks for joining us. We sure do appreciate it. Huh? I hope I said that correctly. I'm just learning. I wanted to find a new addition to the Carmada, which is the snotty group of cars I keep outside the house to annoy the missus. Now the Audi A1 was fun, but it's a bit too small really, because it was never just me by myself as it was supposed to be. So it's gone. In the parodied words of Monty Python, it has ceased to be. It is no more. It is an ex-car. Well, to me anyway. So I needed something that's a bit of an all-rounder. It needed space to cart the two kids around, look nice, be comfortable, reliable, and all that, but can still put a big smile on my usually miserable face. I don't just want transport, I want to enjoy being in it, and all that on what isn't really a very big budget. So what's the best thing I can get for under £5,000? That's about 6,150 of your American dollars. Huh? I absolutely didn't want a stupid SUV. The missus has got that pointless option covered. And I don't really need the space of an estate, or as you call them in America, a goddamn station wagon. All I really need an estate for is to carry the dog around. And I've got a snotty old estate for doing that in. Maybe take the occasional load of rubbish to the tip, or as you'd say across the pond, to the dump, you son of a bitch. Huh? Now, used executive saloons, sedans, land yachts, rowboats, whatever you want to call them, represent really good value for money in the UK for what is essentially the best cars that a manufacturer makes. They are the pinnacle of the manufacturer's engineering technology. They're usually made from the best materials, have better standard equipment, have most up-to-date technology, and are usually more refined than their lesser siblings. So I'm not entirely sure why they're such good value. It can only be lack of demand. Luxury saloons and sedans often top the price list when new, but can be picked up for peanuts a few years down the line. Now it could be because they can cost a fortune when they go wrong, although you can say that about most mainstream cars nowadays. But I don't think that's the reason. I think it's an image problem. You see, in the good old US of A, they love sedans. We sure do love a sedan, ma'am. See? Over there, they're considered understated cool. Basketball stars, movie stars, even rappers own them alongside their chrome G-Wagons and suede-covered Range Rovers. Jay-Z has got a Mercedes S-Class, and so's Jim Carrey. Brad Pitt and Will Ferrell both own BMW 7 Series, and so did Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, and he's the Prince of f***ing Darkness.
I'm f***ing Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of f***ing Darkness.
That's right, the Prince of Darkness drove a 7 Series. But over here, the big executive saloons are usually driven by big executive people. Tubby old business owners and CEOs. Not what you'd call down with the kids. And then after a few years, they're generally discarded for a newer model. Now these guys are probably the only people that can stomach the massive depreciation. And then they're bought up by people who want a luxury bargain for a fraction of its original price. Now when they drive past people in their new luxury ride, most people don't think, now there's someone that bought a lot of car for his money. What a clever chap. All anyone thinks of him when they drive past is, what a cheapskate. It's just a wannabe that couldn't afford a new one. It's not fooling anybody. Now I'm not sure why, but the consensus seems to be, if you can't afford a new one, or you don't want to take the hit of the depreciation of a new one, then you shouldn't be allowed to partake in the luxury of a high-end saloon. You should buy a used Ford Focus instead. This really puzzles me because those people wouldn't think the same of a Ford driver who was driving past in a similarly priced and not as nice car. Is it because the luxury car started out at a much higher price and they're deemed to be cashing in on the massive depreciation? Or maybe they're offended that the luxury car driver is pretending to be something that he's not, as opposed to someone having the good sense to get the most for his money? Who knows? Whichever category I fall into, I bought an Audi A8 TDI. The reason I didn't buy a Mercedes S-Class was that I wanted a big diesel engine, and the biggest engine that Mercedes did in this price bracket and era was a 3 litre with its 227 horsepower. BMW never made a 735D, Their 3-litre twin-turbo engine with its 286 horsepower was put into the 5 Series and the little 3 Series, but never the 7. BMW did bring out a 740D later on with 313 horsepower, but that's quite new, so it's way over budget. And also a used 7 Series makes me incredibly nervous. As I've said before, the 7 Series isn't the most reliable car on the planet. The only thing likely to give you higher maintenance bills is one of those awful lizard-looking Real Housewives from the telly. You know, the ones with the big pumped-up lips and the giant circular hooters. So an A8 it is then, but I wasn't going to go for the 3-litre. Nothing wrong with it, it's a great engine. The majority of A8 diesels on the road are 3 litres, but I wanted more than the 227 horsepower. So Audi also did a 4.2 litre twin-turbo V8 TDI. Oh, that's what I'm talking about! Now, there aren't many of these 4.2s around, so it took me a while to find one, especially a nice one. I found this one with only 45,000 miles on it a few months ago. Before I show you around all the 2000... It's a fucking helicopter. It's an invisible helicopter. Now, before I show you around all the 2007 trinkets, I've got to talk about the engine. The power from the 4.2 litre V8 twin turbo is astonishing. 326 horsepower, which is impressive by itself. When it came out in 2007, this was the most powerful passenger diesel car in the world. But as we've said before, it's not horsepower for acceleration, is it? No, it's not. It's torques. And this hoosts out an ass-kicking 650 nm of torques. If you want to know what 650 nm of torques mated to a Quattro drivetrain looks like this. Yeah, I won't be trying that. Now, Audi have brilliantly engineered it so that it gives a constant plateau of torque from 1600 RPM right the way through to 3750. So all the power comes in low down and just stays as a constant right the way through the rev range. Marvellous. So we've established it's powerful, but how quick is it? Well, 0 to 60 comes around in 5.6 seconds, which is the same as a BMW M5 E34, which was 250 kilograms lighter. And it had 335 horsepower. And it was a flipping M5. This is a diesel. And because it's a diesel, it gives that M5 performance with better fuel economy. As Charlie Sheen would say, winning! Or was it past the hookers? I can't remember. Now, the fuel economy in this is actually better than the 4-litre TDI it replaced. You know the one Clarkson drove from London to Edinburgh and back on 1 tank of diesel. That one. Now, I'm not trying to say it's frugal by any means. It's still a 4.2 litre V8 twin-turbo, automatic, 4-wheel drive, 2-ton behemoth. But considering all that, it's not that bad. I get about 24 miles per gallon around town, and if I take it easy on a run, I can get up to 38. I think a lot of that is helped by the fact that the body is all aluminium, or aluminum, as some people might say. For such an impressive car, it's a bit of a boring name though, isn't it? A8. You remember how the A8 got its name, don't you? No? Yeah, you do. Well, for those of you that don't, I managed to dig this out of the Audi archives as a reminder.
I'd like to start by telling everyone how excited I am about the launch of our new flagship executive car. I believe that Hans, our head of naming stuff, has come up with a very suitable name for it. We're all very excited to hear what his name is. Thank you, Wolfgang. Yeah, I'm very... Wolfgang, if I may interrupt. I have been working on a suggestion for the new flagship model for quite some time. I think you'll be very happy with it. No offense, Hans. This is a little unexpected, Helmut. And a little unorthodox, if I may say. But if it's okay with Hans, I think we'd like to hear it. I think the name for the new flagship model should be the Splendidwagen. The Splendidwagen? Yeah, Splendidwagen. The Audi Splendidwagen. Why? Because it's un Wagen and it is splendid. Helmut, we are a German company. Our ethos is Teutonic efficiency. We do not have friendly names for our cars like the British with their Austin Princess or the Ford Escort. Why would you name a car after a hooker? It does not matter. The point is that our names must be functional. You still have not grasped the concept of functional relevance when naming our products. But Wolfgang, quiet Helmut, I'm still sprechen. It was your suggestion to call our beloved mother company the Volkswagen Audi Group rather than Audi Volkswagen Group. AVG would have been perfectly fine as an acronym, but no. Now we are VAG, and the British, with their schoolboy sense of humor, they laugh at us. They call us VAG. What is wrong with VAG? What does VAG mean in Britain? It's slang for a lady's Sportwelle Schnitzel. Helmut, how could you? Then there was a time we launched the Audi A6, and you wanted to call it the Audi Schlong. We only just caught that one in time. This is why we have Hans as head of naming stuff. Now, enough of this Wurstbude. Hans, please continue. Danke, Wolfgang. Now, the name of our executive flagship model needs to be informative und functional und discreet. This car is not for the show-offs. Nein. It's not for the Instagrammers. Instagram won't be invented for another 15 years. Oh, well anyway, it's a two-part name, and like all our cars going forward, it is going to start with an A for Audi. I like it. Followed by a number. Now, the car is bigger than the A6. Can you guess what the number is? 7? Higher than a 7. 10? Lower than a 10. 9? Lower than a 9. Oh, I love this game. Is it 8? Ja, Wolfie. The flagship model will be the Audi A8. This is inspired. Wunderbar.
Oh, the crazy 90s. Anyway, let me talk you around some of the things that make this car a bit more special than some of the other cars you can buy for the same money. Oh, shit, bastard. Now, don't forget this is 2007, so it's pre-iPhone invention. You do get Bluetooth, but it kind of ruins the functionality of the smartphone. You're not going to get media streaming or anything like that. It pretty much temporarily bricks your phone and uses your SIM card for hands-free calling. Now, it isn't the highest spec A8 around, considering what technology was around at the time. It doesn't have the fingerprint recognition for the start. It doesn't have a sunroof. I wish it had a sunroof. I don't understand why it hasn't got a sunroof. I bloody love a sunroof. But what you do get for the price of an 8 to 10-year-old Ford Focus is pretty incredible. First of all, space. Your massive boot, masses of room in the back, and masses of room in the front. As a 6'1" adult, I can stretch out fully reclined and drive comfortably. And whilst I'm doing that, another fully grown adult can sit in the back with loads of leg room. Huh? Now what that means in real terms is the kids don't get dead legs from having their legs jammed up against the driver's seat, and they don't feel the need to kick the driver's seat on every long journey. Now, as you'd expect, the seats are supremely comfortable. They're like sitting on a fat friend's lap. The seats are completely electronically adjustable. You can adjust them in 18 different ways. Even the very top of the backrest you can move around, which I thought was a bit of a gimmick, but it actually makes a massive difference. It's like the A8 designers discovered that humans come in all different shapes and sizes. Who knew? What that means is this car has a level of comfort that you would be really hard pushed to find anywhere else for £5 grand. It feels like you can get in it and drive all the way to northern Scotland and back, for whatever reason, but feel absolutely fine afterwards. As you can tell, the quality of the leather is fantastic for a 15-year-old car. There's no signs of wear or cracking. It just feels somehow thicker and more sumptuous than the lesser models, like it came from a thicker skinned cow. You know, one of those cows you could just insult all day and they don't care. Now, I know it's nothing special on any car, but I do love having heated seats. It's colder than Undertaker's mistress at the moment in the UK. The sound system is also top-notch. Amazing clarity and bass from the Bose system, which was the standard system. It wasn't even the Bang & Olufsen upgrade, which in 2007 money was £4,500. Now, the weirdest feature for me are soft closed doors. I've never understood this feature. On this one, they were a £425 option. That's like nearly £600 in today's money. Now, to me, soft closed doors should be there so you can slam the door in the middle of the night and not annoy your neighbours like this. Doesn't work. What they actually do is close the last few millimetres for you if you can't be bothered to shut it all the way yourself. I'm not quite sure what scenario that would be. Is it like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons that's just too feeble to get it there? It then takes over and does the last few millimetres. Safety-wise, the A8 comes loaded with airbags, and should you find yourself injured after an accident, there is, of course, the first aid kit. Should you feel capable of administering field-based medical attention, that is. Medic! Ooh, ketchup. Now, it may be classed as an old snotter now, but back when it was new, it got some absolutely amazing reviews. In 2007, Buy a Car said, "This isn't just fast for a diesel, it's fast, period." Ugh. They also said, as a candidate for best car in the world, it's hard to think of anything that could top the Audi A8 4.2 TDI. It is a car with no Achilles heel. An autocar said the trouble with Audi's all-wheel drive A8 4.2 TDI is that it's just too good. It delivers effortlessly in all weather conditions, and it might just be the most complete luxury car on sale today. Well, I'm bloody glad I got one then. Now, I need to mention that when you're on the road, it's really quiet and refined in here. The soundproofing is incredible. You've got double glazing, and even the wheel arches are carpeted to keep the road noise down. You can't even hear the thumping 4.2 litre V8 most of the time. It's only when you decide to unleash all 326 horse and all of their power that you can actually hear it. But even then, you don't get a screaming, clattery diesel noise. You get a kind of muted burble of a V8. Or an almost petrol V8-like howl when you give it some beans. The ride and suspension are sublime. I didn't even know it had air suspension. I found out by mistake, not that I was looking anyway. I'm not normally a fan of air suspension. Wait for it before the air suspension diehards ever go at me in the comments. I'm not normally a fan of air suspension because on older cars it goes wrong, and when it does it costs an absolute fortune to put right. I only found out it had air suspension by accident when I came off the motorway and pulled up some traffic lights and the car started to slowly raise back up again. So obviously it decides to hunker down on the motorway to save drag or fuel or whatever, and then brings it back up again when you're going around town for the comfort. It's got a few different settings on the suspension that you can play with. Dynamic makes it more sporty, so it levels it up in the bends. I'll just leave it on automatic. I've already mentioned the aluminium body. The weight saving allowed Audi to put in a heavy Quattro system for incredible handling and grip without making it any heavier than its two-wheel drive rivals. It also means that rust won't be a problem. So that's handy. Being the flagship model, you can see that a lot more thought went into everything than the rest of the range. The lighting, for example, is all really well thought out. Ambient door lights, outside puddle lights, footwell lights, all come on when they're needed. They've thought of everything. I know a lot of this is commonplace now, but back then it was special, and you don't get much else for £5 nowadays. The MMI interface is good too, more intuitive than a lot of the more modern interfaces. When I get into a Tesla, I can't do anything. I just have to live with the settings as they are. In a Tesla, I feel like I'm an idiot. Don't say it, I already know. The steering wheel isn't pretty, not at all. I was expecting more from a flagship, but it does feel top quality, with thick leather that stood up amazingly to 15 years of use, and it's got plenty of functions on it. You can control music, phone, trip computer, and the pretty crappy voice control system. It might just be me, but I was thinking that in 2007 pre-iPhone era, that keyless entry was a novelty. It's clever too, it won't let you lock your keys in, if you're an idiot like me. Could this be the holy grail of non-sports car motoring? An executive luxury car that's actually fun to drive? Now, this car's going to be sticking around for a while. I can't think of a reason I need to sell it, unless it goes all squiffy on me. I can imagine if it wanted to, it could smash me with some massive bills and then just sit there laughing at me. How did I get back here again? So what did I pay for this awesome car then? I bet some of you are thinking there's no way you got that under the £5,000 budget. Well, I paid for this car £4,200. Now, I get the feeling I didn't get lucky with a car bargain, because it's me and I don't get luck like that. So I'm going to have to do a bit more investigation, see if there's any surprises lurking there, and do a follow-up video. Which reminds me, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when that video's uploaded. And if you're already subscribed, thanks for that. Maybe share the video with a mate who think you might enjoy the content.
Onto High Street.
I got lost. Maybe you could share the video with a mate who might like the content. Tell them if they watch it and subscribe, I'll let them date my sister. Just don't tell them I haven't got a sister.